Guys, been a while since I've done a video. Just busy with life, work, and school. It's tough, but you get through it. Gonna be doing a video today on the Spyderco Military M4 edition, the titanium and G10. And just real quick, want to thank all of you who have recently subscribed, friend invites, comments. I really appreciate that, and just want to let you guys know, welcome to the channel. Hope you guys enjoy what you see. I have plenty of videos up already. Don't be afraid to search old stuff. You never know. I've got quite a bit of selection of different knives. So, getting down to it, here we have the Spyderco, obviously, with the titanium Loctite face up. We got a Strider SNG and Chris Reeves Sabenza 21. This is a large. Now that's just to show some size comparisons. So showing off next to the SNG, you can see, kind of get an idea of how these look side by side. As you can see, the military is pretty good at shrinking knives. Next to the large Sabenza 21, you can see that definitely shrinks these knives quite a bit. Getting down to specs on the military, I don't have the official specs for this particular model of the military, but this is the typical specifications according to just the regular production G10, which should be exactly the same. So the close length on the military is 5.5 inches. The overall length on this thing is an overwhelming 9.5 inches. So this is a huge blade for a pocket knife in comparison to the majority of my collection. This is the biggest knife that I own overall. The actual blade here is 4 inches, including the choil here, and the cutting edge is 3 11/16 of an inch, if you're interested in that. Now the weight of this knife, I mean, we are talking G10, which is not a light material to begin with, and also of course titanium. So according to my scale, this is about 5.3 to 4, 5.3 or 5.4 ounces, which is actually not too bad considering they added a full titanium slab, because the original all G10 military is 4.2 ounces. So adding the titanium there added about an ounce, just over an ounce. So once again, overall here, this knife literally just shrinks anything that's next to it. Next to a large Sabenza, you will see that, I mean, I can't even get this in frame here, guys. Let me try to move this back here. You can see here that it just absolutely just shrinks knives. As you can see here, completely straight up, makes the Sabenza 21 look quite small, although the cutting edges are almost the same on the large sub in the military, if you look closely. It's fairly close. The SNG is just kind of a joke as far as cutting edge goes, and also length in comparison to the military. As you can see here, it does shrink the SNG, and if you're talking just cutting edge, I mean, you got way more on the military in comparison to that of the SNG. And as you can see here as well, the frame lock on the M4 is actually thicker than that on the SNG, and that's on both sides. Partially a reason due to that is because I have the concealed carry SNG, so since it's rounded out, the titanium is a little bit slimmer than that of the M4 military. Although you'll see, blade-wise though, the SNG is much thicker than that of the military. Military is strictly a slicer in my opinion. Very good cutter. So, let's see, getting down to the actual aspects of the knife. Military is the military. I got the carbon fiber one here. For comparison, as you guys can see, it's the same exact knife, just different materials. So getting to the actual knife, as I said, we got one side that's G10. It is very nicely gripped. Emerson has grippier G10 of that of Spyderco, but I prefer the grip on Spyderco because it's not quite as abrasive to clothing. When I carry knives, I typically carry them at work in just regular Dickies work pants, and they definitely wear the pants out quite a bit. And also regular jeans, it's tough on the Emerson G10. But what's cool about this one, the M4 with the titanium in G10, which is very cool, is that the fact that the clip side is titanium, so it's very smooth. This is very easy to slip in and out of the pocket, which I really like. So it's very cool that the frame lock with the clip on this side kind of worked out in that manner, so that this isn't going to wear out your pants like G10 would, since this is clipping with the titanium side. Um, Huge opening hole there, which is very easy to flick out. Of all my knives, the military is the easiest knife to deploy one-handed with a flick. I mean, just super easy. I mean, I just barely give it a push. Normally, when you flick a knife out, you dig your thumb inside there like that to give it a flick. With the military, that hole there is so generously open there. I can just rest my thumb right on top to flick it out, and this thing just flies out. And as you can see here, lockup is about 50–60%. Hasn't moved much since I've gotten it. It's really worn in, very nice. When I got it, and in my second video I did on this, I said that it was it's not uh, gritty. It's a little bit rough sounding. I mean, it opens smooth. It just there's a feeling of some slight roughness as you open it, but that's smoothed out really quite a bit. I mean, you can kind of hear it, and that may be the D10. I'm not sure, but it has no effect on the function of the knife. It's still very smooth as I open and close. It just makes that noise, and you can kind of feel it a little bit, but does not deter the function at all. The ergonomics of the military, it's just as expected, just like any ordinary military. The contrast of having the G10 on this side has some really nice grip for the fingers as you wrap around, and having the clip here really kind of fills the hand. So it's comfortable in a regular grip like this with the thumb, where I can pull back with a fully extended thumb. Reverse grip is really nice on the military. You can choke up there, as you can see here. It's got some jimping underneath there. You can kind of choke up for finer cutting. Disengaging the lock is really easy. As you can see here, we got that steel insert clip that you can kind of see inside there. You can see the screw, and you can see that it's kind of jimped here, and having that nice cutout here, there's obviously more than enough space to get your thumb in there to close it, which is extremely simple. And this is set up for tip down only, tip down right side. So, I mean, you can have people customize it to change that, but I have no problem with that. I'm right-handed, and I don't mind tip down with the military. And a lot of people kind of nag about the clip because you have that much sticking out of your pocket. But because this knife is so big, I like the fact that I have a little bit of extra room in my pocket, and I like grabbing the knife out of my pocket using this tip part. So it makes it really easy to just take the knife out and then deploy. Really nice lockup. There's zero movement in any direction. The M4 steel, M4, I love this steel, and it has some cons. Now, my first experience with M4 was the Gale Bradley, and I loved that knife. I just couldn't get over the weight distribution. The weight in the handle versus the blade just kind of threw me off, and so I passed it on. That, and just the fact that M4 is not stainless. This one luckily has not gotten any rust spots yet, and my Bradley just barely got a few rust spots on it. So that could be kind of annoying, getting rust on your blades. It's not pretty, and especially if it's a blade that you really like. So so far I've been lucky, and this hasn't got any rust on it yet. But as you can see, there are plenty of marks on this from me using it. A lot of adhesive marks. My main cutting task is honestly just cardboard and plastics and zip ties. That's what I deal with. I work with food and in a restaurant, and the only time I use my knife, which is actually frequently whenever I work, is stocking items and food and products and whatnot, and breaking down boxes and opening up things that involve plastic wraps and ties and whatnot. And so a lot of that has adhesive, and that gets off on the blade. But like I said, M4 is just a razor. I mean, ZDP 189 and M4 steel with the extremely high Rockwell hardness ratings. I mean, you can really, when you sharpen this stuff, and when you cut with it, and when you feel it, you can just feel how tight the grain is on the steel. It is just extremely sharp. Now, I haven't touched this up at all, to be honest, on any kind of rods or anything, but I'll just show you real quick how sharp this is right now. Oops, that wasn't very good test, was it? So a little bit dull in some spots, but still cuts. Razor sharp on some parts. Here, let me get some better paper to use actually. There we go. That's a little bit easier than an envelope. So you can see, still rather sharp. And I've been using this for quite a while. Like I said, I waited a while to do a review on this because I wanted to test it first. And M4 holds an edge for a really long time. I mean, if you guys think and go back to when I unboxed this, I haven't given it a sharpening job since, and I've carried this blade just about every day since, just to test it out, and still cuts that well. And so the M4, it really holds up really well. Like ZDP 189, I wouldn't recommend letting this stuff go dull, because I think it may be a lot harder to sharpen versus, say, the BG42 military, which is much softer, the BG42, and a lot easier to sharpen. So this stuff is much easier to touch up than that of the M4, just from my experience with the Gale Bradley. So I assume it'll be the same with this. But overall, I really like the blade. The weight doesn't bother me too much. I do have to say though, the whole thing with the military, I think why it's so popular is, you know, well, A, it's ergonomic. B, it's got a ton of blade. Now C, which is pretty much A plus B, is the original G10 version, and obviously the carbon fiber variants, is how light the knife is for how much blade you have. I mean, it's light, it's a ton of blade, and the knife is slim. I mean, this thing just really shrinks in the pocket when you put it in. Now, the problem is, like, this one's quite a bit heavier. So that is a sacrifice for a military, because military, when I think military, I think light for the amount of blade you're getting, for the amount of handle you're getting. And this one is quite a bit heavier, so that may be a con for some people who love the military for its size to weight ratio. And this one is on the heavier side, being just over 5 ounces, almost 5.5 ounces. But given the fact that you got this insanely, you know, strong frame lock, thick titanium, and you know, the exclusivity of an M4 blade, you kind of pay for that. And then also that steel insert, which is supposed to prolong the life of the frame lock, but you know, we'll see in the long run. But all in all, I really do like this knife. It feels really good. The M4, like I said, holds an edge for a long time. Did more than a decent job of cutting. You know, as far as hair shaving sharp, it does last quite a while. It did last quite a while, and after a few weeks of use, or a couple weeks of use there, it is still has an extremely cuttable edge. And overall, I really like the knife. So that is my rundown review on the M4 Military. Hope that wasn't too boring. And yeah, if you guys like this knife, it was an exclusive of KnifeWorks for only 500 pieces. So only option is the secondary market for these things sold out quick from Roger over at KnifeWorks. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. And that is my Spyderco Military M4 G10 Titanium KnifeWorks exclusive, 1 of 500, and my carbon fiber BG42 in the background here. Alright guys, take it easy.